big news. Las Vegas just came out talking about the fact that opening up 9 Vegas casinos get greenlit to open at 100% capacity. This is an Associate Press story. Gambling giant MGM Resorts International Wednesday joined a growing number of Las Vegas Strip casinos, page 6, with state regulatory approval to open casinos floor at 100% capacity and no person-to-person distancing requirement. The company said the Nevada Gaming Control Board granted its waiver for 9 properties based on its workforce vaccination. Approval applies to casino floors at Bellagio, Aria, MGM Grand, Mandalay Bay, Mirage, New York, Luxor, Excalibur, and Park MGM. 3-foot distancing and 80% occupancy restrictions remain at restaurants, swimming pools, and other non-gambling areas. Masks are still required. Clark County lawmakers with jurisdiction over Las Vegas area businesses have approved plans to allow 100% occupancy. Over 60% eligible county residents get a vaccine shot. As of Tuesday, the figure was at 47%. The other Las Vegas casinos open at 100%, including Wynn Las Vegas, Encore, Cosmopolitan, and resorts known as the Strat. They showed Gambling Control Board at 80% employees have received at least 1 shot of coronavirus vaccine. Good to hear Vegas being back.
It's great.
Finally, Vegas is sitting around saying, holy freaking moly, how much more money are we going to lose to Texas and to Florida? They see Canelo's fight, Cowboy Stadium. They see NBA All-Star Game. They see NBA playoffs, Florida. They see Super Bowl, Florida. They see all this stuff taking place. Like, listen, how much money you think cost Vegas by seeing what Florida and Texas did? What is the number?
Hundreds of billions.
Billions of dollars. The number one convention city in the world. How much money you think cost Vegas? The number one convention city by seeing what Florida and Texas did. What is the number?
Hundreds of billions.
God.
Billions.
It's about time. And, it finally feels like common sense is kind of returning in this country. And, good for Vegas. I guarantee you they were chomping at the bit to open way, way sooner, but their hands were tied and they couldn't. You got the Raiders with the highest priced tickets in the NFL. They're going to be huge this year. Imagine they just opened up that new stadium in Vegas. They couldn't even play in it last year. It's going to be insane what football weekends are going to be like in Vegas. You got the hockey team that just started the playoffs again. And you know what? These casinos should be wide open. They should be. You know what? If you are overweight, if you have some cardiovascular issues, if you have circulatory issues, if you have some sort of health, don't go, because maybe it's just like everything else in this world during the pandemic, the last 14 months. But we were so caught up in protecting everybody and not having any common sense by saying, hey, you know what? If you have these issues, your life is in danger. This is a serious threat for you, old people, etc. Take caution, quarantine, but everybody else should have been out. And the whole thing, but that's a whole nother story. But thank God, if Vegas is open, that sets kind of like the bar for everybody else, and it's okay to open up everywhere.
So speaking from a consumer mindset, because I want to flip this over to you and get your perspective, but speaking from a consumer mindset, I mean, I'd go to Vegas once a year, maybe for a convention.
So you're not a Vegas guy.
No, I mean, I live in South Beach. Why the hell do I need to go to Vegas?
That's a good point.
Okay,
so you're not somebody that went to Vegas.
I would go for a
Vegas
business
offers
trip.
you so much that South Beach doesn't. A, you can gamble, number one. B, you can go.
You're not a gambling
guy. You can gamble. You can gamble in South Florida. You can go to the Hard Rock.
And I don't think of Miami as the finest dining. I know there's good restaurants. I know there is, but you go to Vegas for the dining as well. The spa, I think you'd own Vegas.
Again, I'd go to Vegas once a year. I'd go on a business trip. I'd go on a bachelor party. I'd go for a little vacay, whatever. Once a year, like that. So cool. From a consumer standpoint, all right, I missed my Vegas trip this year. No big deal. But you throw a freaking massive convention in Vegas from a business owner standpoint who puts on mega conferences. This has to be
2.5 months away. This is 3 months
has to be
away.
Ridiculous
Oh
for
yeah,
you.
I mean we have Nicky Jam performing. We have Mike Tyson will be there. We have Frederick Da Silva, the top illusionist in pretty much all of America.
Yeah.
We have
Mario Lopez.
Mario Lopez will be the host of award ceremony.
Not
which
Mario
is pretty
Aguilar.
sick.
Sorry, ladies and
Mario
gentlemen.
Lopez. Similar Mario, but Mario Lopez
just as good looking, just as talented.
Patrick Lencioni, a bunch of other guys that were also still working on. But the point is, when I went to MGM. Last 2 weeks ago, I don't know what it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Like you physically went to Vegas?
Oh yeah, I was at MGM Grand and I was talking to all the employees. Okay, and they're giving us the tour and all this stuff because we're kind of setting up on, hey, how are you going to fit 13,000 people here? How are we going to do this?
Are you talking about in the arena where the UFC fights are?
We're doing it in the Grand Arena.
Damn, okay.
Yeah, we're shutting down all of MGM Grand. Is what we're doing to do an event in 2.5 months. You ought to come.
I'm
fly
coming,
out. Yeah,
for sure.
It's a sick show. The award ceremony. You're going to say it's one of the greatest shows you've ever seen.
And if it's anything like the event ceremony that just went on in Dallas,
that's nothing.
That's what's crazy to me. I can't. I'm excited to see this.
Anyways, so I went there and I go through my guys and I talk to my guys. And my guys, people that I've been doing stuff with, AV. Once you work with an AV team, you kind of like buddies together. I saw my guy Lee. He hugs me, gives me a kiss. I
Adam
freaking
Sandler's
love
guy.
Lee. Adam Sandler's guy, whether it's Marshall, all these guys. We've been doing so many things together, right?
Nice guy, Lee.
So anyways, and I'm in the back of MGM. I'm like, so tell me, what's going on with work here? Pat, you don't even know what's going on. Tell me what's going on. Dude, 90% of people don't have a job. What do you mean 90% of people? 90% of my guys don't have a job. How are they making it today? They're struggling.
Unemployment.
They're struggling. And all this stuff is not cutting it. It's not enough. This is very scarce. So when do you think it's going to open? I hope soon. People need jobs. We need people coming in. You could tell how excited they were that we have still kept our contract that we're doing our event with them.
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
a risk because we signed a contract and we did the deal with COVID. So we announced we're doing an event pre-Vegas being open. It was a risk. It was a big risk we took. A lot of our competitors saying it's an irresponsible thing to do. Maybe you're right, but Dana White, listen, he opened up UFC and he says, we're opening up. Let everybody else follow suit. We didn't slow down with that. We're putting the convention. The biggest part about this that I'm excited is the fact that those workers who love putting events together, who get a kick out of putting a great show, supporting all of that, they finally are back. They have jobs. They can now sell tickets, sell concerts, sell rooms, sell out the place, do all that other stuff that people do. This is very, very big for America to see Vegas being open.
Yeah.
Very big for
And
America
think about
to see Vegas
it.
being
How
open.
much love did you get when you took 500 people down to Hawaii?
Oh, Hawaii treated us royally.
Because they hadn't had any tourism in a
treated
year.
us so royally, man.
And you show up with 500 people, and it's like, holy, thank you for coming.
By the way,
you told that story.
So we had a trip going to Bora Bora, right? We have a trip going to Bora Bora that we had to cancel 2 weeks ago. And here's why. Bora Bora, we have the bungalow set up, everything. It's the most exclusive island that we had in Bora Bora. And we were shutting down all the bungalows. We took all of them, right? And it's not $500 a night. It's expensive when you get these bungalows when you're shutting down an island. They call us and they say, you can come, but Bora Bora state laws is the following. Everyone has to be vaccinated or they have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well,
so we had a conference call. We asked our guys. Our guys are like, dude, we're not doing this. So what am I going to do? So now we're looking at other places. A bunch of places are closed. Maldives is open. Turks and Caicos open. Jamaica's open. Aruba's open. Bahamas is open. A lot of different places are open. But it's so interesting now that the criteria to take a incentive trip, company trip, you have to look at state laws on who doesn't require you to do. This whole thing with vaccine. Yesterday I asked a question on Twitter saying, how many of you guys, this is what I asked. I said, how many of you guys on Twitter are, let me pull this up to see the survey. And it's the most common question right now being asked. I said, did you get the vaccine shot? I put yes as a poll, no, thinking about it, not going to, period, right? So yes, 28%, I got the vaccine shot. 4,000 people polled on this. No, 35%, haven't gotten it yet. Thinking about it, 11%, not going to, period, 26%, not going to, period. So you're seeing a lot of messaging right now with what's going on with, hey, you better get this, you better get the shots, even traveling, Vegas. It's going to get a little tricky. Delta's talking about they want to see potentially a vaccine card to fly. I think there's going to be an uproar if they take that kind of a position. But, I talked to Subramanian Swamy from India, who sits on the cabinet, is one of the most influential people in all of India, professor at Harvard. He's good friends with Modi since the 70s. The guy's a beast of a guy. He's got millions on top of millions of views on YouTube, probably in his late 70s, early 80s. And we talk about what's going on with India. Last 7-day average on COVID cases, 400,000 a day. Death, 7-day average, 4,000 a day. So I said, why do you think this happened? He says, you know what's crazy? We are the biggest producers of the COVID vaccine in our country. We have 2 different kinds of vaccines. One of them killed nearly 200 people. I believe that's the number he gave, and the other one is doing better. He says, but we got too sloppy. We got a little too comfortable. And because we got a little too comfortable, that's what took place here with us in India. And now we're struggling to kind of slow this thing down because it's not slowing down. So there is that fear of what if something happens like that in the States, but the reality of it is Florida and Texas has proven that there's ways to come back and still control it. Again,
What did he mean, sloppy and getting too comfortable?
he got a little too cocky. He's saying Modi got too cocky, and he got up and he said in February, we are down to 11,000 cases a day in a country with 1.4 billion people living there. Hey, let us teach the rest of the world how to do it. And the next thing you know, boom, that took off.
By the way, where are you going? So, not Bora Bora. What'd you pick?
We had a conference call last night at midnight, 12:30, and we're right now looking at a couple different places. I'm about to announce it on the conference call right after this. Yeah. So I'll announce it next week. I just don't want to reveal it because
Hey, by
people
the way,
watch
there's
it.
nothing more depressing for America than seeing the Strip in Vegas dead and nobody there.
Yeah.
I mean, that sets the tone, and that's just saying, man, we're screwed. So the fact that it's going to be crazy. I mean, people are going to make up for lost time.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Pandemic is no excuse for New York City's rising tide of violent crime. Earlier this month, 4 New Yorkers were shot dead in 4 incidents with 24 hours, followed by a triple shooting in Times Square. This is a 1980s level crime, and the city is getting used to it with alarming
Alarcity.
no, it's not alarcity.
Alacrity.
Alacrity. Mayor Bill de Blasio answer to this is that there's not much we can do. Our entire lives were turned upside down, a global pandemic and a perfect storm, he says. So he hasn't acted with much urgency as the murder rate rose 47% last year to a total of 468 people killed, and has risen this year so far by 17%. This is just New York, is what we're talking about. The rest of the world is demonstrating the obvious. Murders and other crimes should be down during a pandemic, right? Look at the statistics here. So folks, if you're listening to this, New York is up. The rest of the world is down. In London, the murder rate fell 16% during the pandemic. In Italy, it dropped by 14%. In Japan, it dropped by 10%. In France, it dropped by 2%. And even in Mexico, it dropped by 0.5%. So what is wrong with us? Not just New York, but the country as a whole, with urban murder rates up 30% last year. One answer is that compared to Europe and Japan, we have more guns. That's been a crisis for decades. Yet, it isn't new. What is new in New York and the rest of the country is that we have effectively halted all preventative policing. We have also effectively stopped all incarceration of suspects in criminal short of murder. So what do you have to say to this article by New York Post?
What did it say? 478 homicides
468
last year?
last year. Up by 47%.
Okay, so let me give you a number. In 1993, there were 2,200 murders in New York City. 2,200 in 1993, okay? There was no fucking pandemic. This ain't about a pandemic. This is about thugs being victimized. This is about an administration, de Blasio's administration, that has handcuffed the cops. He took $1 billion out of their budget. He took 600 plainclothes anti-crime cops off the streets. When you work in plainclothes, and I work plainclothes as a cop, okay? I'm not talking about narcotics. If you're in a plainclothes unit in New York City, your whole...
Can you explain what plainclothes is to folks who don't know? What's plainclothes?
All right, let me give you an example. Times Square,
Okay.
where we first met. First time I ever met you was in Times Square. Taxis, yellow cabs. Everybody sees a yellow cab in Times Square. Well, let me tell you an old trick. I'll give you some old trivia. If you see a cab and the number on the cab, in the middle letter was an R, and the last two numbers were the same, right, on that cab, the three people that's riding in that cab, usually there'll be a driver and two people in the back seat. Those are cops. Okay, they're in plain clothes. They're in yellow cabs, or they're in plain clothes. They're in unmarked cars.
When you say plain clothes, they're dressed like you.
They're dressed like
a normal
me.
guy.
Usually it's jeans, sneakers, a vest, a jacket, whatever the case may be. They blend in. They look like anybody else. May have a beard, not beard, whatever. Bottom line, here's their job. Their whole function in life is to look for guns and respond to what we call hot jobs. Robbery in progress, shooting in progress, shots fired, somebody getting stabbed, whatever the case may be. Their job is violence. That's all their job is. Bill de Blasio took 600 of them, all the plainclothes units in New York City, took them off the street.
600 of them.
Why would he do something like that?
He put them back in uniform.
Why? What's the
He said they were a
methodology
threat to the communities.
In what way?
I don't know. I don't.
What's the speculation, though? Even the speculation. What is the speculation?
My speculation is he's a moron. That's my speculation.
Very deep.
there? He's got to have some justification.
I don't
You
care
got to
what
look at stats.
I don't care what his
Again,
stats is. I don't care.
I don't know. I'm asking.
Well, because it's almost like it's not for people should know you're a cop. You shouldn't be hiding like you're not a cop. Maybe that's
Okay,
what it is, like
all right.
transparency.
That's the whole point of being undercover. Being
So
plain clothes,
here's the bottom line. He takes $1 billion out of the budget. He takes 600 cops out of the streets, plainclothes unit cops. Their whole function in life is to look for guns, takes them out, and basically opens up Rikers, lets people off Rikers, institutes these laws with the city council and the governor where they're not going to, all the things that Pat just talked about, right? They're not locking them up, they're letting them out, they're not holding them for bail, all that stuff. So here's the bottom line. Would you say the numbers last year, 660, 460?
468.
468. 2,200 in 1993, okay? Between 1993, I left office in 2002, January 2002. We dropped that homicide number from 2,200. I walked out of office, I think my number was 671. Under Mayor Bloomberg, we got it down to 371, 370, something like that. I had a 65% reduction in violent crime, a 70% reduction in homicide, and an 80% reduction in homicide in the black communities where the violence was the highest.
So what did you do during that time that they can be doing today? What were some of the strategies and tactics you guys used?
Everything they're not doing today.
Which is what?
Basically, I'd have plainclothes cops out there. If I was the police commissioner today, right, I would go to the mayor and say, I want $1 billion back. I want 2 new classes of 2,000 each in class. I want 4,000 more cops. I had 55,000 people that work for me in the NYPD. 41,000 of those were uniformed. Today, I think they're around 36,000. Why? You have a bigger population in New York City today than you did in 20 years ago. Right. Why do they have less cops working today? That's crazy. And keep this in mind. Here's what people in all those cities I mentioned earlier, whether it's Atlanta, Baltimore, these are gorgeous. Some of these are gorgeous cities, right? Nobody wants to live, visit, work, or go to school in a place where they're not safe. Nobody wants to move into a neighborhood where they got to put their kids to bed in bathtubs to protect them from gun violence. That's the bottom line. For every percentage point, Giuliani and I and the other commissioners, for every percentage point we reduced violence and homicide, I could show you increases in economic development, real estate value, and tourism. Every percentage point. It is the bottom line. A lot of the advocates and these left-wing lunatics will jump on this totem pole saying, this is all socioeconomic. We need better jobs. We need better schools. We need whatever we need. They'll talk all this shit, right? Bottom line is, you're not getting none of that. You're not getting none. You're not getting better jobs. You're not getting better schools. As long as you have the highest violence and crime and the highest murder rate in your city, you're not getting none of that other stuff.
Why would somebody build a small business over there? What risk am I going to take?
That's exactly right. Who's going to put a business there? Who's going to create jobs? You think Apple is going to put a flagship store on the south side of Chicago? No, they're not. The bottom line is you have to fix the violence and the murder rate.
So let me continue because, okay, so Bernard, to be fair with the audience, you would consider yourself a Republican. You would say you're a Republican yourself. Yeah. Okay, so you're a Republican. New York Post is a center-right newspaper. A Post is, New York Times is left, New York Post is right. Let's just kind of, so I just read to you stats from New York Post. So somebody may say, and USA Today is left, but New York Post
USA
is right.
Today tends to be center.
I'd say USA Today is center-left. I think Wall Street Journal today
center
is
right.
center-right. Yeah, so New York Post is right. Now, next one, NPR. What is NPR? Far
Certainly
left.
left.
Far left, right? So this next story I'm reading to you is from NPR. Massive one-year rise in homicide rates collided with the pandemic.
Welcome to Bitboy Crypto, the largest cryptocurrency channel on all the interwebs. My name is TJ, and I'll be your host for today's episode of Around the Blockchain. Every day we come to you live Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the trending crypto topics of the day as well as discuss your most asked questions. We've got a
According
really
to a
show lineup
recent
today.
study, 40% of people have experienced financial loss due to procrastination. In today's episode, you and I are going to talk about why we procrastinate. I'll give you many reasons why we do. But at the end of it, which is the most important part of this episode, I'm going to explain to you when we're about to procrastinate in our mind, we go through 4 different options and then we just say, I'm not going to be doing it. Why do we go there? And once I talk about that with you, you'll get a new hack on how to minimize the level of procrastinating you're doing today. So this is the first time you're visiting Vitamin. This is the #1 channel on YouTube for entrepreneurs. We got over 1,000 videos on this channel on sales, entrepreneurship, hiring, firing, raising money, great interviews. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Click on the subscribe button and you can watch a bunch of other videos afterwards. Anyways, let me get right into it. Point number 1 is a bad estimation of time. Here's what I mean by this. So think about it this way. Procrastination means you have a deadline that you don't hit, right? You're like, I got to get to this deadline. It's a priority, but I don't hit it. Many times you think you have a lot more time than you really do, right? Like think about it. You're like, oh, I got next Friday. It's good. I got so much time to get it done. All of a sudden you're like, it's Thursday. Oh my goodness, how do I get this thing done? Now, maybe we got away with it in high school. Maybe we got away with it in college. You cannot get away with it in business because again, you don't hit your deadline, you lose customers. You don't hit your deadline, you lose millions. Potentially billions. Some companies do because they don't meet their deadline. So number 1 is time optimist or somebody who has a bad estimation of time. Number 2, you are overwhelmed because you're taking on more projects than you can handle. Let me explain what I mean by this. I got a big staff here. A lot of people that work at the home office, a lot of salespeople, a lot of sales offices, right? And many times, if I look at somebody that every time I ask them for something, they say, yes, oh, I got it. Okay, yes, I got it. Yes, I got it. And then they don't meet half the deadlines. I'll sit down with them and I'll say, listen, you seem a little overwhelmed. You kind of tell they're kind of going like this. Oh, I got it. I got it. And they're kind of like sweating it, right? I'll say, look, I want to simplify something for you. What's that? Just because I ask you to do something doesn't mean you can't rebuttal and tell me, Pat, I got these 3 pending projects that are due today, and you asked me to do it. So which of these 3 is less important than the next request you just made? Then I backtrack and I have to tell them, oh, you know what, those 3 are priority. Do that. I'll ask this either from somebody else or let's revisit this tomorrow. No problem. Thanks, Pat. And then they go back to their business, right? So sometimes you're procrastinating because you took on way more than you can handle. That's number 2. Let's talk about number 3. Distractions. What is distractions? Way too many distractions in your life. For example, this is a phone, okay? We all have a phone. But here's a question. What notifications are on your phone? Meaning Snapchat, Insta, Twitter, Facebook, text, WhatsApp. How many notifications do you have? Do you know how many of the reasons why we procrastinate because all these notifications are on? Sometimes you got to turn off the notifications for a lot of things. You're not being distracted with a lot of different things. By the way, there used to be a time where nobody could call their spouse at work. Nowadays, it's a little bit more lenient. It's not really that big of a deal like it used to be. People talk to their wives or their husbands while they're at work. But sometimes your biggest distraction is every time your wife or your husband has an issue, you're on the phone with them. Oh my gosh, babe, what happened? Oh, seriously? Oh my gosh, okay, got it. And then you just forgot the project that you were due by 4 o'clock today and you miss your deadline. Then you're sitting in a meeting, you don't have anything prepared, looking like a fool just because you got a call from your husband or your wife and you got distracted. Okay, so sometimes you have way too many distractions. You got to lower those. Number 4, you're a perfectionist. Sometimes when you're a perfectionist, you don't do anything unless it's perfect, right? So you have the, I don't want to say best of both worlds. It's more like the worst of both worlds because you're both scared of fear of success and you're scared of fear of failure. What if I don't do a good job because it has to be perfect? And what if I do come through and do a very good job and there's more pressure on me because everybody's expecting me to do another project that could be bigger? Oh my goodness, this is so crazy. And that whole pressure of being a perfectionist, you just kind of set it aside saying, I'm just not going to be doing it. So I'm afraid of failure or I'm afraid of success. I know this sounds weird, but some of you guys are related to say, that's exactly me, Pat. I understand. I've worked with many of you. You got to kind of get over this perfection stuff and start meeting your deadlines. Point number 5, you really don't know where to start. Imagine you are told, here's your task. You got to get this done. And you said yes, but you're not really clear on what's expected of you. So when you come back to your desk or you're sitting by yourself like, what is my step number 1 or number 2? What do I do next? I have no idea what to do next. So because you weren't given clear expectation, because you didn't ask the right question, you're sitting there saying, I don't really know what my first step is. What do I do next? So because you don't know what to do next, you procrastinate. Point number 6 is low energy. Some people call it lazy, some people call it low energy, stamina, fatigue, endurance, whatever you want to call it, is I'll give a task to somebody and you kind of know they're like, oh, okay, all right, so let me see if this is, we had a meeting the other day and I told my executives, there's a couple people in the office, if I ask for him to do a task, in my mind, I know it's not going to get done, so why do we have them over here? Well, let's find a way to rearrange them. You want to move somebody else to another department that they're not going to get the job done because every time they do their energy is low and they're not excited about hitting their deadlines, why are we moving somebody to a whole different department? No. We just have to figure out to realize, are we willing to lower standards and accept this kind of performance, or do we need to go get somebody with high energy that's not lazy, that's willing to work and get the job done? Let's figure this thing out. Now, that may sound harsh to some people, but in reality, if you're in an environment that's a startup and everything is moving and somebody's low energy, sometimes you just don't get the deadlines done because your energy is just low and you got to increase your energy. Point number 7 is very simple. It's boredom. A lot of times you're given a project or you accept a project or you take an assignment or it's something for yourself and you're trying to get this one thing done, this task, and you got a deadline, and you just kind of sitting there like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I have to do this. You want me to pay my bills on time. This is so flippin' boring. It's driving me nuts. I just don't want to deal with it right now. You set it aside, right? Due to boredom. Now that doesn't mean that's the right decision you made, but sometimes we procrastinate because whatever project we're working on is absolutely boring. Point number 8, your leader, your example, procrastinates, so do you. You're in an office. Many offices have a culture of procrastination. Like no one really takes deadlines that seriously. No one really takes projects that seriously. I know this sounds kind of strange, but there are many businesses that are okay if deadlines are not met. They're very casual about it. So guess what happens? If that's the culture from the top and it's accepted, anybody else in that culture is okay with procrastination. Point number 9, you do not have the right team to delegate to. Let me explain what I mean by this. So you're CEO, you're a founder, you're a C-suite executive. Say you have 7 deadlines to reach this month. Okay, you got all these projects. And 3 of them it's got to be you, your diligence on them, but the other 4 you can delegate to somebody else. Now, every time it comes down to you delegating a project to somebody, you either don't trust the individual to be able to do as good a job as you, or you just don't have the right person. So either you got to start to learn to trust your people, or go recruit and find the right people that you can trust, because one of those 2 is preventing you from delegating. And last but not least, point number 10, you simply don't see value in the project you're working on. Meaning you see a project, you know you got to hit the deadline, but you don't really value it, so you just kind of say, you know what, I'm not going to be hitting it, so I procrastinate, and you set it aside and turn your attention to a whole different place. So now you saw 10 different reasons why we procrastinate. Let's talk about how we come to a conclusion of our decision-making process to say, I'm going to go out and come through with this and not procrastinate, or I'm going to procrastinate on this project. Here's how simple it is. When a task comes to hand, like we have to do something, our brain goes to one of 2 places. I don't know if I really want to do this, but on the other side is, I have no other choice. I have to do this. For example, I don't know if I want to wake up this morning to go to the gym. I really don't feel like it. You don't have to do it. You get up to go to the gym because you want to go to the gym and get in shape and look better, right? Now, I don't know if I really feel like waking up this morning to take my kids to school. You don't have a choice. You're their ride. You have to get up early to feed them and take them to school because it's your job, right? So somebody may watch this and say, well, I don't know if I like the word have to. Hate to say it to you, a lot of things in life is things we have to do. No one likes to pay taxes. We have to pay taxes. No one, likes to take their kids to school every morning. You have to do it. Like, no one likes to go pay their bills, but you got to pay your bills. You don't pay your bills, you're kicked out. There's a lot of things we have to. No one wakes up and says, oh my gosh, I love changing diapers. It's just the most exciting thing in my life. I just love waking up to a bunch of poop and diapers. I love it. But you have to do it. You're the parent. You chose to have a baby, right? So there's a level of decision-making process that has to do with your maturity level. The higher we mature, there's certain things we got to do that we don't want to do, but we have to do. So let me get into a little bit deeper. You got 4 things that happens every time you got a decision. First thing we think about. Here's a decision, here's a task, here's a responsibility that we got to take up. Number 1, do I have to do it? First thing your brain will say, no, you don't have to do it. Or it will say, yeah, you got to do it, but this one you can assign to the team. We can do collectively as a family. We can do collectively as an office. It's a team project. I can make this a team project. Or I can delegate this to an individual to get this done, right? So no team project, delegate to an individual, or yes, I'm going to do it, right? The challenge with a lot of the decisions that we procrastinate on is things that we have to do and things that it's on me to do that we set aside. That's when it causes problems, okay? Very simple. It's stuff that I have to do, and it's mainly my responsibility to do it, that I set it aside. No, I don't want to really touch it. I don't really want to do this. And then the more of these things that stack on top of each other, then you have a cluster of problems you got to be working with. So when it comes down to procrastination, a few things you got to be thinking about that'll help you out. Number one, every time you have a new project that comes to you, first thing you do is once you accept it, make a list of what you need to do next. Listicle. So for instance, what do I need to do here? Step number one, do this. Number two is this. Number three is this. Number four is this. Number five is this. Number six is this. Okay, let me send that email. Number one. Number two, let me make that phone call to this person. Number three, I got to get that thing back, and then I'm good to go. Hey Johnny, can you make that phone call to Bobby? Get him on the phone. I got to talk about this. You're already halfway to getting your assignment done. So you accept the responsibility. You take an assignment instead of procrastinating. Immediately make a listicle of what to do. Number two, create a reward system. If I finish this, here's my reward. Sometimes it's very simple. You know, what do I need to do here? Step number one, do this. Number two is this. Number three is this. Number four is this. Number five is this. Number six is this. Okay, let me send that email. Number one. Number two, let me make that phone call to this person. Number three, I got to get that thing back, and then I'm good to go. Hey Johnny, can you make that phone call to Bobby? Get him on the phone. I got to talk about this. You're already halfway to getting your assignment done. So you accept the responsibility. You take an assignment instead of procrastinating. Immediately make a listicle of what to do. Number two, create a reward system. If I finish this, here's my reward. Sometimes it's very simple. You know, if I get this part done, I'm gonna go out there and go to this place and eat. If I get this part done, I'm gonna go out there and do this. If I go and work at 5 days a week this week on Sunday, I'm gonna go out and get myself this. If you read this book every day for 5 days, the kids are gonna get this. But there's gotta be a listicle, and then there's gotta be a reward system added to it. Then next thing is to have smaller victories that are getting you excited to develop the muscle of getting projects done. Sometimes you simply have a list and you get the list done. That builds confidence to know, like, look, even this morning I made my bed. You know, right after making my bed, I went, I brushed my teeth. I made something for my kids early in the morning before I left. Man, this is good. I got a lot of stuff done here. It's victories. I'm getting small things done. So now when a bigger responsibility comes, your muscles being built up for this big one, you get that part done, and that's a massive victory for you. So again, listicle, number one, add a carrot to it once you get it done. Create small victories that lead to the big one. And last but not least, the times where you have to do something that you really don't want to do. There's a lot of projects that I have to take as a company that I really don't want to do, but I know it's getting me closer to the vision. Always sell the vision to yourself and the people involved in that project. For example, guys, listen, I know nobody wants to be doing this right now. We're here at 11 o'clock at night. We got a lot of better things that we can do than being here at 11 o'clock. I'm sure you'd love to be with your family. You probably would love to be Netflix and chilling with your newest girlfriend. You probably love to be playing soccer right now, but here's what we're doing it for. The reality is this. If we get this together, this project's going to get us closer to XYZ, and you can get closer to getting your promotion, you can get closer to doing this, and collectively we can say we were part of this project. So you do that both with your team, and you got to be able to psych yourself out too when you're working on a project all by yourself and nobody's there. If you don't psych yourself out when you're by yourself on a project you're working on that doesn't have to, you'll eventually get bored out of your mind and you say, you know what, I'm just not in the mood. So because the whole thing we talked about with boredom earlier, there's a lot of things I do as a CEO and an entrepreneur that's boring. A lot of things. But because the vision is so big and exciting and the legacy excites me and the history excites me, I do it anyways, based on the vision. So again, those are the 10 reasons why people procrastinate. Those are a few reasons how we come up with our conclusion on the decisions we make for procrastination, and a few hacks you can use to help you minimize the level of procrastinating you've been doing lately. And having said that, the next video I want you to watch is a video about you deciding who is worth your time or not. We made a video called Who's Worth My Time. It's a video for you to process and decipher through all the people you're spending time with to say, I don't know why I keep spending time with this guy. So every time I talk to him, it just sucks out my energy. I shouldn't be spending time with this person. This video is built for you to know how to prioritize your time. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Talk about Avalanche and DeFi. Let's talk about SushiSwap and their Miso Launchpad and their rare tokenized bottles of sake. Before we get to that, let's take 60 seconds, thank the best sponsor in the world, BlockFi.com/altcoindaily. Everybody, either click on the link below or type in BlockFi.com/altcoindaily and just check it out. If you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Binance Coin, Chainlink, a variety of stable coins, why not put your crypto to work? Earn up to 8.6 interest with a... All right, guys, BlockFi.com/altcoindaily. I use them. I like them. I recommend them. Let's move forward. Polkadot announces Kusama is finally ready to host parachains. What does this mean? Well, Polkadot is entering the fourth and final phase of its mainnet launch. Kusama, a sister chain to Polkadot platform, is ready to roll out of parachains on their network. They're ready to roll out parachains. Gavin Wood, the founder, also one of the OG founders of ETH, said that the launch of the parachains would proceed following a full external audit on the new version of Polkadot and Kusama executing at least one successful auction involving crowd loans and hosting at least one functional parachain in the wild. After Kusama's first auction is complete and successful, one would expect Polkadot's auction to happen soon after that, Wood said. So, TLDR, Polkadot is in its final phase of its mainnet launch. Polkadot holders, congratulations. Let's talk about Avalanche. Actually, let's talk about Tether. Tether, USDT stablecoin, will go live on Avalanche, serving the project's DeFi ecosystem. So the key takeaways are this. Tether, USDT, will go live on the Avalanche blockchain. This is actually the 9th blockchain that Tether has been launched on, following its initial launch on Bitcoin's Omni layer. Tether is the largest stablecoin on the market with a market cap of $59 billion. And I think the bigger picture here, since this is the 9th blockchain that Tether is a part of, is that the future is interoperable in cryptocurrency. Crypto is trending interoperable. Let's talk about Sushi. As we know, SushiSwap is very similar to Uniswap, but there are different projects. Anyway, Sushi to sell tokenized sake on initial offering launchpad. The team behind SushiSwap has shared a first glimpse of its new Miso launchpad. The first sale on the platform will be for a rare tokenized bottle of sake. That kind of sounds appealing. So Sushi has created a platform called Miso for new projects to list on SushiSwap. Miso is a suite of smart contracts that allows for the creation of tokens to be sold in crowd sale or auction formats. The first sale on Miso will feature 888 tokenized bottles of sake listed in a Dutch auction format. That kind of sounds cool. Sounds exciting. We'll keep you informed. My friends, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. We're in a bull market. This is the time to pay attention. By next year, it's possible we could be in a bear market, which means that this year is the one year you want to be paying attention. See you tomorrow.
There are over 7,000 cryptocurrencies and counting. Each has its own use case and tokenomics. Now, in theory, these two factors are meant to be the selling points for that coin or token. In practice, however, whether a crypto does well often boils down to recognizability and branding. One of the cryptos that has both is Litecoin. It's been around for almost 10 years and is one of the oldest surviving altcoins on the market. This makes it recognizable to investors who have come across crypto in the past. Litecoin has also branded itself as the silver to Bitcoin's gold, and this single idea has played a key role in its survival over the last decade. However, Litecoin has not just survived, it has thrived, and in recent weeks, it's been making its way back into the top 10 cryptocurrencies by market cap. As it turns out, there is more to this price action than meets the eye, and today I'm going to tell you why Litecoin needs to be on your radar. I need to hit the brakes because there is a disclaimer I need to state. Financial advice is great and all, but all I preach is DYOR. Nothing in this video is investment advice, it's just educational content, and I hope that will suffice. If this is the first time you see me on stage, my name is Guy and I am a crypto sage. This channel is my crystal ball, and if you look into it and ask for quality crypto content, you'll get it all. DeFi, NFTs, coins, tokens, FUD, and FOMO are just a few of the things discussed here at the Coin Bureau. If you want to make the most of this bull run, subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell just for fun. You can see the flow of today's video by using the timestamps in the video timeline that I've left below. Feel free to skip ahead if you need to, just know that watching the whole way through will help this video get more views. This disclaimer is getting a bit annoying, so let's get down to business with Litecoin. Litecoin was created by software developer Charlie Lee. Charlie holds a master's in computer science from MIT and worked as a software engineer at Google before becoming one of Coinbase's earliest employees, serving as engineering director until 2017. Charlie is also an avid poker player, and this happens to be why he got involved in cryptocurrency in the first place. In April 2011, regulatory authorities in the United States cracked down on the largest online poker websites in the country, effectively shutting them down for good. This made Charlie, quote, realize the importance of the freedom of money, and this inspired him to begin dabbling in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It didn't take long for Charlie to see the same thing we see in crypto today, hundreds of shitcoins that exist for no other purpose than to enrich their creators. That's why Litecoin had a fair launch in October 2011 with no pre-mine. This means no LTC was allocated to Charlie or any of the other chaps working on Litecoin before its launch. Charlie mines Litecoin along with everyone else in the crypto community in much the same way as Satoshi did with Bitcoin in 2009. As the name suggests, Litecoin was designed to be a lighter version of Bitcoin. Whereas BTC is a store of value, LTC is meant to be the sound money that people will use for everyday payments. This is why Charlie calls Litecoin the silver to Bitcoin's gold, and why he actually advises people to invest in Bitcoin before anything else, including Litecoin. Not financial advice, I'm sure. That said, many have called Charlie's true motivations into question ever since he sold all his LTC at the peak of the previous bull market just a few months after he quit his job at Coinbase. Now, Charlie says he sold his LTC because he could see how much of an influence over its price he had through his Twitter account, which had an enormous following. This didn't do much to quell the concerns of the crypto community, who argued that Charlie was jumping ship. This earned Charlie the title of the most hated person in cryptocurrency in 2018. Now, to Charlie's credit, he continues to work as one of Litecoin's core developers and is also the managing director of the Litecoin Foundation, a Singaporean non-profit that is funded by donations and merch sales. What's more is that Charlie apparently matched all the donations made towards the development of Litecoin's upcoming privacy features. Before we get into those, though, it's probably a good idea to understand how Litecoin works. Litecoin is basically like Bitcoin with a few modifications. For starters, instead of the SHA-256 proof-of-work consensus mechanism, Litecoin uses a special proof-of-work consensus mechanism called Script. Script was meant to make it possible to mine LTC using a regular computer. This would make the Litecoin blockchain more decentralized, as anyone would be able to participate on the network. This is in contrast to Bitcoin's SHA-256 mining algorithm, which was only mineable using expensive specialized computers called ASICs by the time Litecoin rolled around. Now, unfortunately, it didn't take long for those clever crypto mining manufacturers to create a Script ASIC too. And since that time, the Litecoin blockchain has become gradually more centralized, with 8 mining pools accounting for most of its mining activity. One little known fact about Litecoin is that Doge is merge mined with LTC. Now, without getting into the weeds, merge mining makes it possible to mine 2 cryptocurrencies without using any extra power. Dogecoin merge mining began after Litecoin founder Charlie Lee met with Dogecoin founder Jackson Palmer in 2014 and warned him that the Dogecoin blockchain could be manipulated by its miners. Merge mining with Litecoin would keep Dogecoin's blockchain secure. According to Jackson, Dogecoin is, quote, merged at the hip with Litecoin. In other words, Dogecoin's survival depends on Litecoin. This is why part of me suspects that Litecoin miners are partially to blame for Dogecoin's crazy price action. And you can get my full take on Dogecoin by using that link up there in the top right. Besides mining, Litecoin also differs from Bitcoin when it comes to speed, cost, and tokenomics. The average LTC transaction usually costs no more than a few cents and takes about 2 minutes to complete. This works out to about 56 transactions per second. In terms of tokenomics, LTC has a maximum supply of 84 million, which is 4 times more than BTC's maximum supply of 21 million. Like Bitcoin, Litecoin has a 4-year halving cycle, meaning the amount of LTC miners get from each block is cut in half. When the first Litecoin block was mined, the reward was 50 LTC. The first halving occurred in August 2015, cutting the block reward to 25 LTC. The second Litecoin halving happened in August 2019, which was cut in half again to 12.5 LTC. The next Litecoin halving is scheduled to take place in August 2023, and though some websites suggest this reduction in supply is the driver behind LTC's price action, LTC remains highly correlated to BTC. This means that BTC is the primary driver behind LTC's price action, and this is the case for most other cryptocurrencies. Now, I'll get back to the price action of LTC in just a bit. The most interesting thing about Litecoin is that many of the upgrades added to the Litecoin blockchain were subsequently added to the Bitcoin blockchain. These upgrades include Segwit, which reduces the amount of data in each block and allows the blockchain to process more transactions per second. The Lightning Network, which makes it possible to create a payment channel where multiple transactions can be sent between 2 parties for a fraction of the cost. And Atomic Swaps, cross-chain smart contracts that make it possible to trade different cryptocurrencies directly peer-to-peer. The next tech to be added to the Litecoin blockchain is a privacy protocol called Mimblewimble. Any Harry Potter fans watching will know that Mimblewimble is the tongue-tying curse that scrambles a person's speech. The Mimblewimble privacy protocol was proposed by an anonymous developer in 2018, and it's the same protocol used by the Grin privacy coin. Now, how Mimblewimble works is outside the scope of this video, but the short of it is that it hides the wallet addresses involved in the transaction. Only the total amount transacted between them can be seen. The Litecoin Foundation commissioned a Grin developer to code Mimblewimble for Litecoin. This code was completed in March and is currently being audited in preparation for implementation. In contrast to privacy coins like Grin, privacy will be optional on the Litecoin blockchain. This will be possible thanks to another technology called extension blocks. At the conceptual level, you can think of extension blocks as being a sidechain or layer 2 for Litecoin. If you want your Litecoin transactions to be private, you can send your LTC to the Mimblewimble extension chain that runs parallel to the Litecoin blockchain and transact on it instead. The cool thing about Litecoin's Mimblewimble implementation is that the small amount of data it handles when sending a transaction means it could double Litecoin's TPS when transacting in private. Moreover, exchanges are not obligated to support the Mimblewimble chain, meaning there shouldn't be any risks of LTC getting delisted the same way other privacy coins have been in recent months. Now, speaking of LTC,